Got interested in investing when I was about 12. Worked at Macca's for about 10 months, saved $900, and that was the start of it. Back in the day, used to get the Friday Financial Review, Business Review Weekly. Not sure if that still exists, but that was it. So, through your teen years, you're just ploughing over by yourself. My family never had a history of investing. And then, you go to uni and you come across the finance course and it's like, dividend discount model and all that kind of stuff. It's like, oh my God, this is exactly what I want to do. So you go through uni, and fortunately, I was able to land a job on the sell side as an assistant analyst after graduating. And that was the beginning of the career, basically. Picked up the racket when I was probably about 4 or 5. Dad played at the local club. Eventually got to the national level in Australia. So, national junior championships and all that kind of stuff, which was very good. It was a very competitive age group. We had Mark Philippoussis in that, you may recall, yeah. And there's another guy who ended up becoming the #1 junior in the world. So it was, a tough age group to compete in. What are some of the takeaways and learnings? It's everyone looks at the physicality of the game, etc., but there's also a huge psychological component. How do you deal with pressure? People's natural instinct is to maybe curl up and be defensive. That doesn't work. You got to push through that. And playing junior sports, I think you have to learn to deal with adversity and conditions like that. And other parallels that I see between sport and investing is, if you want to be a good tennis player, you can't just have a good forehand. You've got to have a good forehand, good backhand, good volleys, good head, good fitness. So the point I'm trying to make is, what I found interesting in the industry is, I'm a value guy, I'm a growth guy. Well, this is my strength. And for me, I think you really need to be multifaceted. So as an investor, I'd covered sectors in the past, but I wouldn't say a macro sector. So mining, for example. And analysts, I think, generally hate macro sectors because I don't want to make a macro call. And I just said to the head of research at the time, back in 2008, I want to do a macro sector. Yeah. I've never done it. I know I'm weak on it, and I want to challenge myself. So again, it's kind of, you've got to push yourself to incrementally get better and better and better and better. Because in investing, the bar is going up, and if you're just staying constant, you're actually getting worse. When I grew up, my mum said, why can't you be more like other people? And I never have been like other people. What I'm trying to draw at is when people are swimming one way, I'm going the other way. That's what I've found throughout my whole life. So in some degree, it comes a bit natural to do the opposite of what the market's doing. And that can be really, really tough. So, you're going through periods where the market's going up before it crashes, like the Asia China bull market, the largest country underweight ever, 20+%. It's hurting every day in terms of performance. And you're like, where does this end? You don't believe it. And as a PM, I'm not going to buy something for the portfolio I don't personally believe in myself. So, there's a few things. Just step away from it. Don't get sucked into looking at your Bloomberg. Stay true to who you are. And again, you've got to eliminate that emotion from investing. You have China, obviously very depressed, underweight by institutions, and to a lesser degree, ASEAN. I'd say that's a bit more just neglect, lack of liquidity, but I think there's some ideas there. So, if we just hone in on China, from my process, it's flagging up a lot of ideas, primarily on valuation, looking cheap. But how do you kind of sort out the value traps from the non-value traps? That's the real challenge. At a high level, what I'd say is if you see stocks that have derated, but the fundamentals haven't, so their margins, their revenue growth, their returns, etc., haven't derated, if you have the view that it's not going to derate, that's probably a starting point. If we wind back the clock 12 months ago, 9 months ago, information technology was the largest sector overweight for the portfolio. So this is not e-commerce or platform stuff. This is hardware, tech hardware. So TSMC, MediaTek in Taiwan, Jinding in Taiwan, SK Hynix, which does memory, in Korea, ASML, which basically provides equipment to foundries and memory producers. AI was never part of the investment thesis. So the fund was overweight IT before ChatGPT hit the headlines in March 23. More on a fundamental view that the memory cycle is likely to turn. AI turbocharged the returns from a lot of those companies. What was the catalyst to start dialing back exposure? There's a few things that went through my mind. One is I don't believe the market narrative on AI. Two, valuations re-rated exceptionally quickly to the point where your bull case for these companies was met. And I had a meeting a long time ago. It's actually at a mining conference, meeting a kind of, let's call it a mining entrepreneur. And I remember in that meeting he was saying, the market will do what fools consensus the most. And okay, look, consensus can be right sometimes and right for a little while, but when you put that in context and you look back, let's call it 3 decades or 4 decades, you had the Asian tigers, 96, 97, falls out in 98. Tech boom, 98, 99, nothing can go wrong, boom, 2000. US housing, 06, 07, boom, all over in 08. A-share bull market rally, 14, 15, finishes, lithium. So how is what we're seeing with AI different from that? Everyone thinks they understand it. I think no one really understands it. And the risks aren't captured in what we're seeing in the market today. So that is why, the fund is now underweight tech hardware for a lot of those reasons I just discussed.